Hey there folks, it's Matthew Seville here. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things that you should always consider if you're going to be adding clouds to an image. Some of these things are going to be pretty obvious once you sit down and think about them, but I cannot tell you how many times I've come across people making these mistakes, and I've also noticed that there really aren't any other tutorials online that have collected these particular tips. So here we go, let's do this. The number one thing you want to do is match the mood of the two images that you're going to be combining. The color and the brightness and the overall feel. Anytime you combine two photos, they need to match as closely as possible. Even the most subtle differences in color, brightness, or contrast will make your image look extremely unnatural and fake. So when you're merging a beautiful cloud-filled sky with your foreground, always remember to adjust each source layer for color, tone, and contrast separately. We'll get into this more in depth in the following videos, so don't worry. But basically, it's as simple as this. Here you can see I've got this original image, and it was captured after sunset. The sunset, not in the picture, in the frame of the picture. That's one important thing to remember. The sunset over here, the light is very warm and very, very flat and muted, but still dramatic enough. So I chose this sunset image here that had a very similarly warm and subdued kind of feel to it. I think it fits perfectly. Oppositely, it just would not work. Let me go into compare view here and scroll through and find some other photos. It just wouldn't work, obviously, if I tried to combine something like this. It's completely the wrong time of day. The mood just would not match. Or if I wanted to try and go for something really dramatic like this, it's a bit of a similar time of day, but I just don't think the overall mood would have matched. So I think you pretty much get the picture there. Let's check out number 2. The second thing you always want to do is match your horizons. If we have, let's scroll down here and find a good example of this. We can look at this photo here that I created with this sunny daylight type photo here. One thing that is rarely mentioned when other people teach this type of Photoshop technique is that it is helpful to match the horizon between your image and the cloud source image that you're using. This is why every one of the images in the cloud pack includes a horizon. So you can line it up perfectly. You can see here the horizon is a bit below these mountains, and you can see where the horizon is right about there. So what I did when I added this was I moved it up and down very carefully until it looked right. If the horizon had been up here, it would have looked off. Or if I had, what commonly happens more is people lower it too much, and then it feels like, when you look at the clouds, it feels like the horizon is down here, and it's just, the casual observer might not notice it, but anybody who knows anything about photography is going to, their mind is going to start to hurt. They're going to get a headache looking at it, being like, what is wrong with the clouds here? So, okay, if your primary image doesn't have a clear horizon, then you have a little bit more wiggle room, but it takes a little bit of finesse to make it perfect. So as often as possible, pay attention to your horizons. Okay, number 3, match the focal lengths. Here's a great example of this. I shot this was about a 200 millimeter photo, and I have lots of beautiful sky sunsets that are taken ultra wide focal lengths or 24-ish millimeters. It would just have looked out of place. Again, let's go back to comparo mode here. It would just have looked out of place if I had put a very, very wide angle sunset photo in this. Here's the source photo that I got. It's one of these right here, I think. Something along those lines. If on the other hand, I had zoomed way out and included this much wider angle photo or something like this, with this big, huge sky here. Oh, that thumbnail's not loading. Let's find another one. Well, you get the idea. It would not have looked right if I had tried to slap a very wide angle sunset onto a telephoto image. or vice versa. It would really have not have worked at all to try and slap a very, very telephoto sunset. You know, this one's pretty zoomed in. The sun is big in this photo, the clouds are nice and big and prominent. It would not have worked to go plopping that sunset photo into this photo right here, for example. If you could imagine, it just looks wrong when you can clearly see this is a wide angle, maybe a 16 or 17 millimeter photo, and I'm popping in a 200 millimeter sunset. It's pretty obvious to the observer who has seen, you know, a few sunsets. Okay, moving on, number 4, match the time of day. This is obviously another no-brainer, but you're not going to be able to put a gorgeous sunset photo in a regular outdoor type of photo like this, for example, or a very, very late sunset, you know, twilight type photo. It might not work in this type of photo either. You really want to try and match the time of day to when between each photo. Here's a great example of this. The sun was setting right here, and the clouds had earlier been very beautiful, but they kind of blew away a little bit. So it's a great photo, but what if I add a sunset from approximately the same time of day? The lighting and everything looks similar. And so the photo works. All right, number 5, last but not least, match the direction of sunlight. This is a very important one that also sounds like a no-brainer, but it's something that it's a mistake people make very, very often. This is similar to everything that we've already mentioned. Always be sure to look at the shadows in your image and see if the direction is obvious or if it's more ambiguous and you have a little bit more wiggle room. But if the sunlight is clearly coming from the right or the left in the image, then keep in mind that the clouds or the sunset or whatever you need to pop in have to have that same kind of directional light. The sun, you can see there's a little bit of light kind of here, and so that's exactly why I chose this sunset image to have the light coming from over here. Of course, the awesome thing when you're doing composites like this is you can flip-flop your background cloud image anytime you want and put the sun over here or over here. You got a lot of options there. Let's see if we can find another example. Here's one where the sun set right there, and so I added a sunset that was right there in that same exact area. Here's another one in broad daylight where the sun was up here, and so I added one where they've got very prominent shadows here. There's no way I could have put the sun anywhere other than right there. It had to cast this shadow. Or oppositely, let's scroll over here. I think I have another one way at the very beginning from a while ago. This is a more ambiguous or it's a more softer, open kind of image. And so I could probably do whatever I want as long as the image that the resulting image has a similar feel. And so I chose this background image to add into that shot. And there you go, it works great. So I hope you'll keep these 5 things in mind going forward. Obviously, they're just rules, and rules are meant to be broken some of the time, not always, but some of the time. So to some extent, but when in doubt, ask yourself to double check these 5 things just to be sure, and your images will in fact look much more realistic, and your clients will love you. All right, folks, take care, and we'll see you in the next tutorial video.